Sorry, I was talking to them briefly. I've been improving for a while now, but I woke up the other day and in my dream, I had difficulty breathing. I woke up very quickly and they were there with me when I woke up from the dream, which I thought was kind of interesting. And for the past few days, I've been having more problems. One of the ways that seems to be affecting them is the fact that I went out and I bought a camera. And I'm going to push through this because I have a feeling there are a lot more people going through this these days than are talking about it. I'm going to have to get better at editing because I don't always know what to say, but it just comes. Or not. I've got kind of a direction for these videos, but I don't know how we're going to get there. We might bounce all over the place, so bear with me for a while. I have a feeling it'll be worth it, though. I've seen a lot of the symptoms that I have in the homeless population. And it's a shame because I have this place of comfort to have to go through this. There's a woman that lives outside that moved in recently that's in a tent. I'm in the middle of the desert. It's like 112 degrees outside. So, yeah, specifically though, I'm trying to figure out how to help people with what I've gone through and what's worked for me. And one of the biggest things is the way that they've tried to attack me. And I've seen them, and the way that I've seen them attacking others is with the ego. And there's just no place for them to land a hit here anymore. I have a feeling when you suffer, it diminishes the ego quite a bit. Not that I would wish suffering on anyone. There's a great book by Eckhart Tolle called A New Earth, and I highly recommend that you read it. Especially if you're having problems, it might be a game changer for you if you're under attack. You know, when you see homeless people, just give them a dollar or do something for them that you think they need. They got it rough and they're going through it probably all the time. I'm reminding myself that I need to go get 5 gallons of water for each of the 2 homeless people within a block of here. Because we don't live near a place where water is readily accessible. And they probably have to go back and forth to wherever it is to fill up their little cup each day. Plus, it'll make you feel better to be considerate of others. It can be your good deed of the day. Sometimes I hear them in my voice, their vocal changes. There was one. So maybe while you're watching this, try to pick out if you hear my voice or them trying to impart their will upon me. Maybe keep count or something. It'll be fun. Another thing that's helped me a lot is fish oil. Sometimes it works better than my meds. So maybe you can try that too. Big one though. Once you understand the ego, it's like they've taken, I've considered the alien card in this too. Because I think to myself, and I look at the way that I've been interacting with these, or that they've been forcing their interactions on me. And it's like they've taken the worst of humanity, distilled it down into little pills, and they're giving it to visitors to get their rocks off. It's one of the many crazy ways that I've thought about this to try and, what's the word? Make sense of it. But I keep falling back on, you just need to carry on. And there are going to be bad days. And there are going to be good days. That's something that I've learned to understand about burping and farting too. That's one of the weird things, is when this started getting really bad for me, my level of body gas increased like you wouldn't believe. I was in jail at one point as a result of an interaction with a family member. They thought I was high and I was having a really bad time. And the police ended up getting called. The next day, when I went back, because I was so worried about what I'd seen in our interaction the day before, because my uncle came out of the bedroom thinking I was high, and he started screaming with his hands up in the air, these things you brought with you, I don't like them, I want them out of my house. Which immediately, for me, was like, oh fuck, they're fucking with him now. So I go up to him and I try to hug him. And he puts his hands on me, on my shoulders, to ram me out of his house. He's like 72 years old. So I put my hands on his shoulders to prevent him from falling as he was ramming me. I wasn't there that day when the police came, but I went back the next day to try and figure out what had happened, because the police came to my house that night and told me that I had a battery charge. So I went back the next day in the morning to try and figure out what happened. And when I was there, I had the sickest feeling. I knocked on the door, and I couldn't hear the dog barking. And that's something that the dog always did. And it was too early for them to be out for a walk or anything else. So I started freaking out that they had been murdered inside of the house. I was going up to the neighbors. to see if they could call them because my phone was off. My husband had recently evicted me out of my own home because he finally reached a point where he didn't understand what was going on with me. And he needed me out of his life because he couldn't help me. So when the police came, I freaked out because I was worried about them inside the house. I was screaming, please check on them inside the house. I ended up getting into an altercation with the police because I raised my hands up and I backed away from them because I saw what was coming. And when they approached me, I put my hands down, but I didn't put them behind my back. And for some reason, I resisted the police putting my hands behind my back. And that involved from 2 officers to 6 very quickly. I was going to say, though, when I was in jail for 7 months, one of the things about gas, when you're in a cell with 5 people, it was like every single day, nonstop. I felt so bad for my cellmates, but I couldn't do anything about it. I didn't get the thought to maybe ask for some Beano or something until several months into it. And it was always so weird. I felt like I have an eidetic memory, right? So I remember all of this and all the little things that I could call out, and I probably will throughout all these videos, of stuff that just doesn't add up or make sense, that contributes to my illness. It always seemed like every day we ate food, we ate our meals inside of our cells because they had COVID restrictions in place, and one of the COVID restrictions was to not be congregated together when you're eating, so they would just bring the meals to the cells. So I would start farting almost on cue every day when our meals would come, because I felt like those that were interacting with me just had this goal to extinguish me. And to this day, in my mind, when I think about that, they still present to me like, oh, well, you did this. No one's perfect. We all make mistakes. It's about learning from your mistakes. At least in my experience, that's been really important. Because you can forget about the mistakes. Oftentimes. I don't know what it is about me, but I remember the stupidest shit that I did years ago that probably affected absolutely no one else but me. And I remember the bad shit too, where I've hurt others. Whether I was in control of myself or not at the time is beside the point. Because ultimately it's my responsibility to deal with when I hurt. And I've gotten really good at sacrificing into myself. These days, at least, instead of externalizing it. That's another weird thing. Itches on my body in the same spots, like the exact same spots. And the psychosis in my mind has told me that they're playing a game with me, like either the aliens or whatever they are. Because if you're an alien visiting Earth, and I live in the entertainment capital of the world, Las Vegas. So you're aliens visiting Earth, right? You come to the entertainment capital of the world, and you play games with the less fortunate. And the psychosis part of it has been like when I itch in certain spots, that's them skipping ahead or behind because they're playing a card game and we're cheating or something. So weird. The way the mind justifies or comes up with explanations for experiences. Drooling has been one too. Like I'll just randomly start. It's weird on one side or the other. I saw a neurologist recently and I was intrigued because I was asked 3 questions. Do you hear far off music faintly? Yes. And I thought I was just hallucinating. Do you have weird smells? Yes. Sometimes the smells will be so intense that it'll cause me nausea. And then it's just gone. It's one of the reasons I've been seeing, and I decided to see a neurologist. It's because as I've been able to stabilize quite a bit more and make sense of what's been happening to me, or at least been attempting to make sense of it, I've noticed, and I haven't been able to describe it previously, because when it would happen to me, my mind would just go, oh, fuck, I'm going through it. I can't focus on anything right now but going through it. But since I've had some breathing room, I've been able to focus a bit more on my health. I started to notice stuff that could probably be attributed to some neurological stuff. And the third thing he asked me was, let's see, it was music, far distant music, weird smells. I can't remember. It's funny because I couldn't remember 2 out of 3, but the weird smells one is the one that I forgot. Now I can't remember the other one. That's another thing that happens too. I'll be talking to other people and I'll feel like I'm finally starting to flow in a conversation or something. And oftentimes I've been just, it's like they're trying to interrupt me. My brain just goes blank completely and I completely forget because they want to try and hook me into their web or their net or whatever it is. And I find that if I just stop and pause when it happens, rather than giving in to them because they're trying to interrupt and divert me, I get through it okay. And I've had to start making little placeholders. So I'm doing double the work when I'm talking now because I try to remember everything I said. Because I'm getting better at it. You might be going through it. It gets better. And you're still going to have really bad days. That's okay. I hope that you have a good support system. If you're watching this and you have a loved one or somebody that you care about that's affected by this, know that just being there for them, whether they ask for it or not, is probably the most valuable thing that you can do for them. Because they want to marginalize us. And when I say they, I mean those that are affecting my mind, if it's an external influence. And I'm not entirely convinced. And that's healthy, unhealthy, whatever. For the point of these videos, it's going to be better if I discuss it from my perception. So you have an understanding of where my head's at and how it works. I said count how often it sounds like my voice doesn't sound like myself. That was one of the things I said to the neurologist. I'll be talking, and it's almost like I'm in a film or something, where my voice will just change, where it's like that I hear coming out of my mouth or my throat is completely different. Because I said in the last video, that's them stressing, trying to communicate with me, trying to throw me off. And sometimes they sometimes it happens. And that's okay too. Once you start to just become fluid, a big thing that's been good, useful for me. Well, that's what I was going to say earlier too. When I burp or fart, that's been associated with them entering or exiting me. And I've heard a lot from different people, different things. My joints snap all the time too. So, like, my foot is a big one, or my ankle. And it's unfortunate. One of my friends, my good friends, started having a lot of symptoms before I did. And one of the things that was happening to him was his ankle started snapping so much. And he was like, I don't know what's going on. And the same thing started happening to me. And that's when I, in the last video, said that there were things that don't make sense that would stack up in my mind. And that's how psychosis can come on. Is when you get into that. So you have to always keep in mind that whatever's happening, whatever you're going through, it's important to want to continue to connect with people, because others will always be able to bring you out of the trap that your mind's trying to set you up in. Yeah, his name was Paul. He's unfortunately gone now. I forgot where I was going with that, but it sucks that some people that go through this don't survive. Maybe I'll publish another video tonight after this one, because I'm about to upload and push this one. I managed to get my laptop out of the pawn shop when I got my government payments. That was the nicest thing ever. I needed it to get a tire for my car that was unregistered and uninsured. Well, I did DoorDash for like a year. I managed to skirt the law on that one, but I don't know. Oh yeah, I was saying count how often you hear them in my voice. They're running scared since I got this camera. And I find that very intriguing. So I'm going to be consistent with these videos as best as I can, at least once a week, maybe, with probably an initial onslaught. Because when they fuck with me hard now, I'm just going to pull out the camera and start rolling. Try and keep my message on point. That I hope, in my experience, I know that I'm going to be okay. I'm rebuilding finally. And don't get discouraged if you're going through the disability process and they deny you and they deny you and they deny you and they deny you. That's part of the process. Just know that the point is to get before a judge so the judge can make the decision. And if you're doing it on your own, I would highly recommend getting a lawyer. And I think it's Atticus. Atticus referred me to my lawyer. And my lawyer, the good thing about having a lawyer is they know what the judge is looking for. And they will be able to go through your medical records and everything and present to the judge a case that highlights everything specifically about why you're no longer able to work, rather than having to have the burden of explaining it yourself. because that's very difficult sometimes. That was one of the things that, being so sick, I wasn't able to do, was explain my conditions to others, because while I'm going through it, I knew it's so fucking bad. And that was one of the things that I attributed to them wanting about to extinguish and destroy me. Was cutting you off from everything that's available to help you. Thank you for listening. I hope we do good stuff. If anything, I really need to talk about it too, because I don't have a therapist or anything. 5 or 6 sessions later, I found myself just looking, going, this isn't working. And the problem is, to find a good therapist, you often need to go through 5 or 6 sessions before you can get established. But it works a lot for some people, so maybe consider it.